Lisa Reeves yawned as she checked the navigation panel of the merchant vessel starward bound. The small ship hummed quietly around her, carrying mining equipment to the outer colonies. She had been captain for 3 years now, and these routine supply runs had become second nature. "How much longer until we reach Outpost 7? Asked Paul, her co-pilot. He was a stocky man with kind eyes who always kept candy in his pockets. "About 20 hours, Lisa replied. "The new engine upgrades are working well. We're making good time." The starward bound was nothing special to look at. It was an older, model cargo ship with some patches and upgrades, but it was reliable. The crew of 8 called it home. They were just regular people doing their jobs. No soldiers, no weapons experts. Just workers making a living in space. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on the long-range scanners," said Maria from the communication station. Her fingers moved quickly over the display. "It's big. Really big." Lisa frowned and checked her own screen. "Asteroid field. We're not charted to pass through any. No, it's moving. Coming toward us," Maria said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Before Lisa could respond, the ship's emergency lights flashed red. Through the main viewport, a massive shape appeared, blocking out the stars. It was at least 50 times larger than their small cargo vessel, a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull was dark and covered with strange markings that seemed to glow. "All crew to the bridge. Now," Lisa ordered through the ship-wide comm. Her heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. Within minutes, all 8 crew members crowded onto the small bridge, staring at the massive ship that now dwarfed them. "Should we run?" asked Frank, the ship's engineer. Lisa shook her head. "We can't outrun something that size, and running might seem threatening." The communication system crackled to life, and a harsh, clicking sound filled the bridge. After a few seconds, it transformed into heavily accented English. "Unknown vessel. You have entered Vrax territory. Prepare for inspection." The crew looked at each other in confusion. No one had ever heard of the Vrax. "This is Captain Lisa Reeves of the Earth merchant vessel Starward Bound," Lisa responded. "We're on a routine supply mission to our colonies. We mean no harm." There was a long pause before the reply came. "Earth? Not recognized in Confederation database. Prepare to be boarded." A bright light surrounded their ship, and Lisa felt the Starward Bound shudder as it was pulled toward the massive alien vessel. "What do we do?" Maria whispered, fear clear in her eyes. Lisa squared her shoulders. "We cooperate. First contact situation. We represent humanity now." The boarding happened. Quickly, the airlock opened to reveal tall insect-like creatures with hard exoskeletons and multiple limbs. Their heads featured large compound eyes and clicking mandibles. The crew gasped, but held their ground as Lisa stepped forward. "Welcome aboard our vessel," she said, hoping her voice sounded calmer than she felt. "We come in peace." The tallest alien stepped forward, towering over Lisa by at least 2 feet. "I am Commander Zeke Tar of the Confederation cruiser Inevitable Dominance. Your presence in this sector is unauthorized." Over the next hour, Lisa tried to explain that humans had no knowledge of any Galactic Confederation or its territories. The aliens seemed both fascinated and disturbed by the humans, examining them with scanning devices and talking among themselves in their clicking language. "Your species shows signs of predatory evolution," Commander Zikatar finally said. "Endurance, hunters, unusual psychological resilience, concerning adaptability." "We're just traders," Lisa insisted. "We have no weapons on board except for some mining equipment." The alien commander's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Irrelevant. Your kind represents a potential threat. The Council will decide your fate." "You can't just hold us prisoner," Frank protested. "We've done nothing wrong." The comment seemed to anger the commander. "Silence. Your ignorance of Confederation law does not excuse your trespass. You will be taken as specimens for study. Your ship will be destroyed as a warning to others of your kind." Lisa saw her crew exchange panicked looks. 4 armed aliens stood guard, while the commander and 2 others prepared to return to their ship. "You can't do this," Lisa said firmly. "We have rights. We're sentient beings." Commander Zekatar turned slowly. You are unregistered primitives who have wandered where you do not belong. Consider yourselves fortunate that you will serve science before your end. As the commander moved toward the airlock, Lisa caught Engineer Frank's eye and gave a slight nod toward the emergency control panel. If we're going to die anyway, Lisa said loudly, drawing the commander's attention, at least tell us more about this confederation. How many species are part of it? As the commander began an arrogant explanation, Frank slowly edged toward the panel. The other crew members subtly positioned themselves closer to the shuttle bay entrance. Now, Lisa shouted suddenly. Frank slammed the emergency override, causing the ship's lights to flicker. In the momentary confusion, the crew bolted for the shuttle bay. The alien guards fired strange energy weapons, but most shots missed in the chaos. Lisa reached the shuttle controls first and started the launch sequence. Mining lasers online, she muttered, activating the equipment they had been transporting. It wasn't designed as a weapon, but it was the only defense they had. As the shuttle detached from the starward bound, Lisa aimed the mining laser at the connection point between their abandoned ship and the alien cruiser. If they could just create enough damage to break free, they might have a chance to escape. The laser fired, cutting into the metal with surprising effectiveness. But something unexpected happened. A chain reaction began as the beam hit something in the alien ship's engine section. From the shuttle viewport, the crew watched in horror as both their home of 3 years and the massive alien cruiser were consumed in a blinding explosion. The shockwave hit their small shuttle, sending it tumbling through space. When they finally stabilized, they stared at the floating debris in stunned silence. I just wanted to cut us free, Lisa whispered. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. Paul checked the shuttle systems. Emergency beacon is active. The colony should pick it up in a few days. What have we done? Maria asked, her face pale. We just killed who knows how many aliens, in our first contact with another species. We defended ourselves, Lisa said firmly, though her hands shook. They were going to kill us. None of them could have known that their shuttle's simple distress signal would be picked up by more than just human colonies. Other Confederation ships would find the wreckage, recover the data cores, and see what had happened. And across the galaxy, word would begin to spread of a new unknown species that had somehow destroyed one of the Confederation's most powerful warships with a primitive mining vessel. The legend of humans had begun. 5 years had passed since the starward-bound incident. The survivors had been rescued, debriefed, and eventually released back into civilian life with strict orders not to discuss what had happened. Earth governments had scrambled to prepare for possible alien retaliation, but it never came. Instead, diplomatic channels had slowly opened, and humans were cautiously welcomed into the wider galactic community as a protected developing species. Jack Wilson wiped sweat from his forehead as he tightened the last bolt on the cooling system. The space station Nexus 7 was always too hot in the lower maintenance levels. Before joining the station crew as a contract technician, Jack had been a military engineer on Earth, but that life seemed far away now.
Hey, Earthman, you finished yet? Called Zix, his alien colleague. Zix belonged to a species called the Mrit, small, furry beings with 4 arms and large, expressive eyes. Despite their physical differences, Jack and Zix had become good friends.
Over the past months. Almost done, Jack replied, packing up his tools. The cooling system should work properly now. Good, let's get food at the marketplace. I'm starving, Zix said, his fur rippling with excitement. The marketplace was the heart of Nexus 7, where dozens of species gathered to trade, eat, and socialize. As a major hub between 3 different sectors, the station saw travelers from all corners of the galaxy. Jack still found it amazing to walk among so many different aliens after growing up believing humans were alone in the universe. As they entered the crowded marketplace, Jack noticed something odd. A group of large reptilian aliens at a nearby food stall suddenly stopped talking. One of them nudged the others and they quickly moved away, creating a path for Jack to walk through. That was weird, Jack muttered. Zix chuckled, a sound like small bells tinkling. They're Drakari mercenaries, very tough fighters, usually. Usually? Well, Not around humans, Zix said with a grin. Before Jack could ask what that meant, a loud crash came from across the marketplace. A large, muscular, alien with bluish skin and 4 eyes was shouting at a small vendor. I said I want a discount. Your prices are theft, the blue alien bellowed, knocking over a display of gleaming crystals. The vendor, who resembled a tall, thin praying mantis, backed away in fear. Please, sir, these are fair prices. I cannot go lower. Jack frowned. Someone should stop that. Bully. Station security is probably on their way, Zix said nervously. We should just... But Jack was already moving toward the conflict. He hadn't planned to interfere, but the sight of the smaller alien being intimidated bothered him deeply. Hey, Jack called out, his voice calm but firm. That's enough. Leave the vendor alone. The marketplace went suddenly quiet. The blue alien turned slowly, all 4 eyes blinking in surprise. Then, unexpectedly, 2 of those eyes widened in what Jack recognized as fear. Human, the alien said, taking a step back. I didn't realize... I was just leaving. He turned and hurried away, pushing through the crowd. Jack stood there confused. What just happened? The mantis-like vendor approached cautiously. Thank you, honored human. Your intervention is most appreciated. I didn't do anything, Jack said, embarrassed by the attention as aliens around him whispered and pointed. Zix appeared at his side, looking amused. You didn't have to do anything. You're human. That's enough. Later, sitting at a food stall that served something close to Earth noodles, Jack demanded an explanation. You really don't know? Zix asked, using his 4 arms to gesticulate wildly. The stories about humans are everywhere. They say you're genetically engineered super soldiers, that you can break bones with your bare hands and survive in vacuum for hours. Jack nearly choked on his noodles. What? That's ridiculous. Is it? Zix leaned forward. Everyone knows what happened 5 years ago. A tiny human ship destroyed. An entire Vrax battlecruiser. That was an accident. And most of the human crew died, Jack protested. Zix shrugged. The stories grow with each telling. Now, most mercenary groups are terrified of humans. They say your species evolved as persistence hunters who could chase prey until it died of exhaustion. That you can regrow limbs and survive injuries that would kill others. We can't regrow limbs, Jack said, laughing despite himself. And we're not particularly strong compared to many species I've seen here. But you are adaptable, Zix pointed out, and unpredictable. Most species find that unsettling. Their conversation was interrupted by a station-wide alarm. Red lights began flashing and a computerized voice announced, Warning. Unauthorized boarding in progress. Hostile forces detected in dock section 3. All civilians proceed to designated shelter areas. Pirates, Zix whispered, his fur standing on end. Probably Hraxi. They've been raiding stations all along this trade route. They joined the crowd moving toward the shelter areas, but halfway there, Jack spotted a familiar face. Olivia Keller, another human who worked in station maintenance. She was trying to close a security door that had jammed open. Olivia. Need help? Jack called, breaking away from the crowd. She looked up, relief crossing her face. Jack, the door won't seal. If pirates get through here, they'll reach the civilian shelters. Jack examined the door mechanism quickly. The hydraulics are damaged. We need to manually override it. As they worked together on the door, 2 more humans joined them. Sam Diaz, the station doctor, and Ben Phillips, a cook from one of the marketplace restaurants. None of them were security personnel, just ordinary people who happened to be in the wrong place at the right time. Station security is pinned down at the main dock, Sam informed them as he helped with the door. The pirates brought more fighters than expected. A noise from the corridor beyond made them all freeze. Through the partially open door, they saw a group of Hraxi pirates, tall, bulky aliens with natural armor plating and sharp claws, moving toward them. 4 humans, Ben muttered. Against at least 8 armed pirates. Not great odds. They don't know that? Olivia said suddenly, a spark in her eyes. Remember what everyone believes about us? Jack caught on immediately. You're right. Let's use that. With a quick plan formed through whispers, the four humans positioned themselves in the corridor and stepped into view. Jack moved forward, empty hands raised to appear non-threatening, yet somehow this made him look even more dangerous. This section is defended, he announced clearly. Turn back now. The lead pirate, his scaled skin a mottled green, halted abruptly. Humans, he hissed to his companions. Several of the pirates took involuntary steps backward. Only 4, another pirate said, though he didn't sound convinced of their advantage. 4 is enough, Sam said calmly, stepping up beside Jack. What followed wasn't much of a fight. When the pirates hesitated, the humans used their knowledge of the station systems to their advantage. Olivia cut the lights while Ben triggered a maintenance alarm that sounded unnervingly like a countdown. In the darkness and confusion, the pirates retreated, believing they were facing some kind of human trap. By the time station security arrived, the humans had secured the corridor and sealed the door properly. You 4 held off a pirate squad? The security chief asked, mandibles clicking in surprise. Jack started to explain that they hadn't actually fought anyone, but Ben subtly elbowed him in the ribs. Just doing our duty, Ben said with a modest shrug that somehow made their actions seem even more impressive to the watching aliens. As they were praised as heroes, Jack caught Zix watching from the crowd, his furry face split in a knowing smile. The legend of humans had just grown a little bigger, all because of 4 ordinary people and a big misunderstanding. Alan Murphy rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the screens in his office at Earth Central Command. Since being appointed intelligence officer 6 months ago, his job had become increasingly strange. He was responsible for monitoring alien communications about humans, and what he found made less and less sense every day. Computer, play the latest trade request from the Jax Confederation, he said. A holographic display lit up, showing a tall, bird-like alien with colorful feathers. The alien spoke in a musical voice translated by the computer. Greetings, Earth government. The Jax wish to establish exclusive protection agreements with human security forces. We offer rare mineral rights on our outer moons in exchange for just 2 human warriors to protect our main trade routes. Alan sighed and shut off the message. It was the 12th such request this week. Somehow, humanity had gained a reputation as fearsome warriors, despite having one of the smallest fleets and military forces in the known galaxy. It doesn't make sense, he muttered. We've barely been in space for a century, and half the galaxy thinks we're some kind of super soldiers. His assistant, Carla, knocked on the doorframe. Another report you should see, sir. The Vrax Empire has withdrawn their border dispute claim. Alan raised an eyebrow. They just withdrew? The Vrax never back down. They cited strategic reassessment of human territorial boundaries as the reason, Carla said, trying not to smile. Alan leaned back in his chair. We need to understand what's happening. I'm going to go directly to the source. 2 weeks later, Alan found himself on Galactic Hub Station, the largest neutral trading post in the sector. He wore plain clothes, nothing identifying him as a government official. His mission was to discover why humans had gained such a fearsome reputation. He sat in a dimly lit establishment called the Void's Edge, a place where travelers from all species gathered to drink and share stories. Alan nursed a drink and listened, carefully to conversations around him. At a nearby table, a gruff-looking alien with thick gray skin was speaking to a group of younger aliens. And then the human smiled at me. That's when I knew I was in trouble. What did you do? One of the younger aliens asked, leaning forward. The only sensible thing. I ran. The storyteller took a long drink. You don't mess with humans when they smile. That's when they're about to attack. Alan nearly choked on his drink. Humans smiled when they were happy or being friendly, not before attacking. How had such a basic human expression been so completely misunderstood? As the night went on, Alan heard more stories, each more outlandish than the last. According to the aliens, humans could run for days without rest, survive terrible injuries, and even regrow limbs. None of it was true, yet everyone seemed to believe these tales. The next day, Alan used his credentials to access the Galactic Library, a vast database of information shared by all member species. He searched for official records on humans, and what he found shocked him. The first documented human contact was the Starward-bound incident. According to the records, a primitive human vessel had deliberately destroyed a Vrax battlecruiser, using unknown advanced technology disguised as mining equipment. The incident had been classified as a deliberate show of force by a previously unknown species. But that's completely wrong, Alan whispered to himself. It was an accident during an escape attempt. He dug deeper and found more misinterpretations. Medical report described human endurance as unstoppable battle frenzy, because humans could chase prey for hours. Biological study classified humans as impervious to most weapons, due to their relative pain tolerance. A xenobiologist had concluded humans could survive anywhere, even in vacuum and fire, because of their adaptability to different environments. Perhaps most troubling, a psychological profile stated humans take pleasure in combat because they often smiled when nervous. Alan sat back, stunned by the scale of the misunderstanding. No wonder alien mercenaries were afraid. The galaxy thought humans were unstoppable, super soldiers who enjoyed fighting. As Alan prepared to return to Earth with his findings, news came through about an incident on a diplomatic vessel. A nurse named Kimberly Rogers had apparently subdued an assassin targeting an alien ambassador. According to the first reports, she had used bare hands to defeat an elite Pax-Ur assassin. Alan requested the ship's security footage, expecting to find more exaggerations. The video showed a small medical bay. Kimberly, a petite woman in her 30s, was treating the ambassador when a cloaked figure burst in. Without hesitation, Kimberly grabbed a medical sedative and managed to inject the attacker while dodging their initial assault. The assassin collapsed moments later, and Kimberly quickly tied them up with medical restraints. It was impressive, quick thinking, but nothing superhuman. Yet the news reports described it as an epic battle between a lone human warrior and a trained killer. When Alan finally returned to Earth, he presented his findings to the Central Command Council. The room fell silent as his report concluded. "So let me get this straight," said Director Chen, leaning forward. "The entire galaxy is afraid of us because of a series of misunderstandings?" "Yes, ma'am," Alan replied. "Basic human traits have been wildly misinterpreted. Our ability to recover from injuries, our endurance, even our facial expressions have all been seen as signs of superior combat abilities." "And what do you suggest we do with this information, Officer Murphy?" asked Admiral Garcia, his expression unreadable. Alan hesitated. "Well, sir, we could try to correct these misconceptions." An unexpected laugh came from the corner of the room. General Patel, who rarely spoke at these meetings, stood up. "And why would we do that? This misunderstanding has given us valuable trade agreements, territorial concessions, and a level of security our actual military could never provide." Director Chen nodded slowly. "He has a point. We're a small player in a big galaxy. If other species want to believe we're more dangerous than we are, that might keep us safer than the truth." Alan frowned. "But it's built on lies. What happens when they discover the truth?" "Perhaps we should ensure they don't," Admiral Garcia suggested. "At least not until we've established ourselves more securely in the galactic community." As the debate continued around him, Alan thought about the stories he'd heard. Humans weren't super soldiers, but they were resourceful, adaptable, and determined. Maybe those qualities were enough to make even hardened mercenaries nervous. Maybe there was a kernel of truth in the misunderstanding after all. The meeting ended with a decision. Earth would neither confirm nor deny the rumors. For now, humanity would let its reputation work in its favor, while quietly preparing for the day when the galaxy learned the truth. As Alan left the council chambers, he couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its strength or technology. It was a simple misunderstanding. Gerald Hayes had never expected to become rich in space. Before leaving Earth, he had been a simple construction worker, with a talent for organizing people. Now, as he looked out the viewport of his private office on Centauri Station, he couldn't help but smile at how quickly things had changed. 6 months ago, Gerald had noticed something odd while working on a station expansion project. The alien construction company had hired expensive mercenaries to guard the valuable building materials. But whenever Gerald or any other human walked by, the guards became nervous and distracted. "They're scared of us," his co-worker had joked one day. "Maybe we should be the guards instead." That casual comment had sparked an idea. Gerald did some research and discovered that alien security companies were losing business because everyone believed humans were naturally superior warriors. Within weeks, Gerald had quit his construction job and started Earth Force Security, a company that provided human guards for alien clients. The catch? Most of his employees had no combat training whatsoever. "Mr. Hayes, your 10 o'clock appointment is here," said the station's AI through the office speaker. Gerald straightened his suit jacket. "Send them in." The door slid open to reveal a tall, elegant alien with shimmering blue skin and 4 arms. Ambassador Trill of the Aquarian Collective was one of the wealthiest potential clients Gerald had managed to attract so far. "Ambassador, welcome," Gerald said, bowing slightly. "Please have a seat." The alien settled into the specially designed chair. "I will be direct, Mr. Hayes. My government hosts an important trade summit next month. We need security we can trust." Gerald nodded seriously. "Earth Force Security is at your service. Our human guards are the best in the sector." "So I have heard," Ambassador Trill said, eyes blinking in a pattern that indicated curiosity. "Though, I wonder why humans choose to sell their natural talents when you could easily conquer many systems." Gerald had heard this question before and had his answer ready. "Humans value cooperation over conflict, Ambassador. We prefer to use our abilities to help maintain peace." The answer seemed to satisfy the alien. They discussed terms, and by the time the ambassador left, Gerald had secured a contract worth more credits than he had earned in 5 years of construction work. As soon as the door closed, Gerald sank into his chair with a relieved sigh. His business was growing faster than he could handle. He now employed over 50 humans, most of them former teachers, programmers, and service workers who simply needed to stand around looking intimidating. His office door chimed again. "Come in," Gerald called. Patricia Flynn entered, looking uncomfortable, in her security uniform. 6 months ago, she had been teaching kindergarten on one of Earth's outer colonies. Now she was one of Gerald's elite guards, assigned to protect visiting dignitaries. "You wanted to see me, boss?" she asked. Gerald nodded. "I've got a special assignment for you. The Aquarian ambassador needs a personal guard for a trade summit." Patricia's eyes widened. "Me? But I've only been doing this for 3 months." "You'll be fine," Gerald assured her. "Just look confident, stay close to the ambassador, and remember, they think you're dangerous, so act like it." Patricia frowned. "I don't like lying to clients. I was a kindergarten teacher. The most dangerous thing I've ever done is break up fights over toy spaceships." Gerald leaned forward. "Look, all our clients want is to feel safe. You make them feel safe. No one's asking you to actually fight anyone." Patricia didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Fine. When do I start?" "Next week. The ambassador will send transport." After Patricia left, Gerald checked his schedule. He had interviews with 15 potential new employees tomorrow. His company was growing so fast that he struggled to find enough humans to fill all the security requests. What Gerald didn't know was that his success had not gone unnoticed. Across the station, in a dimly lit room, a group of alien mercenaries gathered. They represented 7 different species and a dozen security companies that had lost business to Earth Force. "This cannot continue," growled Drex, a large reptilian, mercenary with scarred scales. "These humans are taking all our contracts." "But they're too dangerous to challenge directly," said another, a furry creature with sharp teeth. "Everyone knows what happened to the Vrax cruiser." Drex slammed a clawed fist on the table. "I no longer believe these stories. Have any of you actually seen a human fight? We hear tales, but where is the evidence?" The others shifted uncomfortably. I propose a test, Drex continued. We capture one human. If they are truly the warriors everyone fears, a single human should be able to defeat us all. If not, his mouth stretched in what passed for a smile among his kind. After much debate, they settled on a plan. They would kidnap a human guard and publicly expose their weakness. The target they chose was Patricia Flynn, who would be traveling with the Aquarian ambassador to the trade summit. A week later, Patricia stood nervously in the shuttle bay, waiting for the ambassador's ship. She wore the black uniform of Earth Force, security complete with the Earth logo on her shoulder. She carried no weapons. Gerald insisted that the sight of an unarmed human was more intimidating than any weapon could be. The ambassador's personal ship was beautiful, with flowing lines that reminded Patricia of ocean waves. As she boarded, the alien crew eyed her with a mixture of fear and respect. "Welcome, human guard," the ambassador greeted her. "Your reputation precedes you." Patricia forced a confident smile. "Thank you, Ambassador. I'll ensure your safety during the summit." The journey passed uneventfully until they were halfway to the summit location. Patricia was resting in her quarters when the ship suddenly shuddered. Alarms blared as she rushed to the corridor. "We're being boarded!" a crew member shouted, panic in his voice. "Pirates!" Patricia's heart raced. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to stand around looking tough, not face actual danger. Before she could decide what to do. The door at the end of the corridor burst open. A group of armed aliens rushed in, led by a large reptilian figure. "There she is," Drex said, pointing at Patricia. "Take the human." The ambassador appeared behind Patricia. "You dare attack my ship? My human guard will destroy you all." Patricia wanted to correct the ambassador, to explain that she was just a kindergarten teacher playing dress-up, but the word stuck in her throat. Everyone was looking at her, expecting her to protect them. As the mercenaries approached, Patricia took a deep breath and remembered something important. She had managed a classroom of 25 five-year-olds for 6 years. Compared to that, how hard could a few mercenaries be? "Stop right there," she said, her teacher voice coming out automatically, calm, confident, and brooking no argument. To her surprise, several of the mercenaries actually paused. Patricia Flynn stood in the corridor of the Aquarian ambassador's ship, facing a group of armed mercenaries. Her heart raced, but her face remained calm. Years of teaching kindergarten had taught her how to look in control even when she wasn't. "I said stop," she repeated, her voice firm and clear. The mercenaries hesitated, looking at each other uncertainly. Their leader, the large reptilian alien named Drex, stepped forward. "We are not afraid of you, human," he said. But Patricia noticed his claw-like hand trembling slightly. Patricia crossed her arms. "Then why did you bring so many friends with you? Seems like overkill for one human, doesn't it?" The comment caused whispers among the mercenaries. Patricia seized the moment and took a step forward. "Here's what's going to happen," she said in the same tone she used with unruly five-year-olds. "You're going to put down your weapons, turn around and go back to your ship. No one gets hurt and we all continue with our day. How does that sound?" For a moment, Patricia thought it might actually work. Several mercenaries lowered their weapons slightly. Then Drex fired a stun blast that hit her directly in the chest. Patricia collapsed to the floor, conscious but unable to move. She heard the ambassador cry out in alarm as the mercenaries moved forward. "Take the human," Drex ordered. "Leave the others." Patricia felt herself being lifted and carried away. As the stun effect began to wear off, she realized she was on a different ship locked in a small holding cell. Fear gripped her, but she forced herself to breathe slowly and think. "What would my five-year-olds do in this situation?" she muttered to herself, then smiled despite everything. They would probably ask for a snack and a nap. The door slid open, and Drex entered with 2 guards. "The famous human warrior awakens," he said mockingly. "Not so dangerous now, are you?" Patricia slowly stood up, gauging the feeling in her limbs. The stun effect had mostly worn off. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "To show everyone the truth," Drex said. "Tomorrow, at the trade summit, we will demonstrate that humans are not the super warriors everyone believes. You are frauds taking contracts that rightfully belong to real warriors. And how exactly do you plan to demonstrate this? Patricia asked, though she had a sinking feeling she already knew. Drex's mouth stretched into that unsettling smile again. Combat, of course. You against our champions. When you lose or refuse to fight, the galaxy will see that humans are nothing special. After Drex left, Patricia sank down on the small bench in her cell. She was no warrior. Her combat training consisted of one self-defense class she had taken years ago. She was going to be exposed as a fraud, and worse, she might not survive the experience. But as the hours passed, Patricia began to think more clearly. The mercenaries had made a crucial mistake. They had kidnapped her, but they hadn't harmed her. They needed her intact for their demonstration. And they had left her alone. Patricia had spent years managing groups of children with very short attention spans and questionable impulse control. She understood group dynamics better than most. When a guard brought her food, Patricia started her plan. Your leader seems very confident, she said casually as the guard placed a tray on the floor. The guard, a furry being with large ears, glanced at her. Drex is always confident. He must be to challenge a human directly, Patricia said, shrugging. Most of your kind are smarter than that. The guard's fur bristled. Drex is not afraid of humans. That's why he's our leader. Patricia nodded thoughtfully. For now, anyway. I wonder who will take his place after tomorrow. What do you mean? Well, either I defeat him, and your group needs a new leader, or he defeats me and becomes famous as the alien who bested a human. Patricia smiled slightly. I wonder if the others will accept him as leader when he gets all the glory and rewards. The guard left quickly, but Patricia knew her words would spread. Over the next several hours, whenever different guards came to check on her, she planted more seeds of doubt and suspicion. To one, she mentioned how Drex would surely keep the best security contracts for himself after his victory. To another, she wondered aloud which of the mercenaries would be sacrificed first in the combat demonstration. She asked a third if they had been promised a fair share of the reward. By the time they arrived at the trade summit the next day, Patricia could sense the tension among her captors. As they led her through the back corridors of the massive space station where the summit was being held, she heard snippets of heated arguments between the mercenaries. The main exhibition hall had been converted into an arena. Delegates from dozens of worlds filled the viewing areas, including the Aquarian ambassador, who looked distraught at the sight of Patricia being led in. Drex stepped forward to address the crowd. Esteemed delegates, we have brought you here to witness the truth. Humans are not the superior warriors they claim to be. This human will face our champions, and you will see the deception that has cost legitimate security forces their livelihood. AQ. Murmur went through the crowd. Patricia was led to the center of the arena and her restraints removed. She looked around at the faces of various aliens, all waiting to see the fearsome human warrior in action. Before we begin, Patricia said loudly, her teacher voice projecting to every corner of the hall, I would like to address the assembly. Drex started to object, but the crowd called for her to speak. Even his own mercenaries seemed interested in what she had to say. Patricia took a deep breath. I am not a warrior. I was a teacher of young children before I became a security guard. There are no special human combat abilities or powers. We are just people, trying to make our way in a very big galaxy. The crowd erupted in confused conversation. Drex moved toward Patricia, anger in his eyes, but two of his own mercenaries blocked his path. If you are not warriors, the Aquarian ambassador called out, then why have you taken so many security contracts? Patricia smiled. Because everyone believed we were dangerous. We didn't create that belief. But I will say this about humans. We are adaptable. We use what we have. And right now what I have is the truth. She turned to look directly at Drex. No one needs to fight today. The truth is out. Humans are just humans. What followed was unexpected. Instead of outrage, the delegates began to talk animatedly among themselves. Many approached Patricia with questions. The mercenaries, their plan fallen apart, argued openly with each other. In the chaos, Ambassador Ryan Cooper of Earth arrived with a security team. As they escorted Patricia to safety, He leaned close. "Well done," he said. "Though I must say, your revelation has created quite a diplomatic situation." Patricia looked back at the crowded hall. "I'm sorry if I've caused problems, but I couldn't keep lying." Ambassador Cooper smiled. "Don't apologize, perhaps it's time for honesty. In fact, I'm scheduled to address the Galactic Confederation Assembly tomorrow. I think it's time we told everyone exactly who humans really are." As they walked away, Patricia heard a familiar voice behind her. It was Drex. "Human," he called. Patricia turned to face him. "If you are not warriors, then how did you defeat us without fighting?" Patricia smiled. "Like I said, we're adaptable. And I taught kindergarten for 6 years. Compared to managing 25 5-year-olds, handling a group of mercenaries was actually pretty simple." Drex stared at her for a long moment, then made a sound that might have been laughter. "Perhaps humans are dangerous after all," he said. "Just not in the way we thought."